All right, we are going to read chapter 18 of Black Beauty. It's called Jerry's New Year. Christmas and the New Year are very happy times for some people. But for cabmen and cabmen's horses, it is no holiday. The work is hard, and you often work late into the night. While merry people are dancing away to the music, I wonder if they ever think of the weary cabman waiting in his carriage, or the mighty horses standing with their legs stiff from the cold. I was the horse chosen for most of the evening work. We had a great deal of work during Christmas week. Jerry's cough was bad, but no matter how late we were, Polly sat up for him and came with the lantern to meet him. On the evening of the New Year, we took 2 gentlemen to a house in one of the West End squares. We left them off at 9 o'clock, and as the clock struck 11, we were at the door to pick them up. The wind came on strong, with sleet mixed with it, and there was no shelter. Jerry got off his high seat and pulled my blanket up tighter around me. Then he walked up and down around me, stamping his feet to get some warmth. By the time the clock struck 12:30, Jerry rang the bell at the house. He asked the servant if he would still be wanted that night. "Oh, yes, you'll be wanted," said the man. "You must not go. It will soon be over." So Jerry sat down again, but his voice was hoarse, and I could barely hear him. At 1:15, 2 gentlemen came out, got into the cab without a word, and told Jerry where to drive. My legs were numb with cold, and I thought I would stumble as I carried those gentlemen 2 miles. When they got out, they never said they were sorry to have kept us waiting so long. Instead, they were angry because they didn't like paying for the extra 2 hours. That night, the money my master earned wasn't worth the suffering we went through. At last we got home. Jerry could hardly speak, and his cough was dreadful. Polly asked no questions, but opened the door and held the lantern for him. "Can't I do something?" she asked. "Yes, get Jack something warm, and then boil me soup." Jerry talked in a scratchy whisper. He could barely get his breath, but he still gave me a rub down, as he always did. He even went up in the hayloft for an extra bundle of straw for my bed. Polly brought me some worn grain that made me comfortable. Then they locked the door. It was late the next morning before anyone came, and then it was only Harry. He didn't whistle or sing like he always did. At noon he came again. This time Dolly came with him, and she was crying. From what I could tell, Jerry was very sick. 2 days passed. We only saw Harry and sometimes Dolly, since Polly had to stay by Jerry's side. On the 3rd day, while Harry was in the stable, there was a soft tap at the door. Governor Grant came in. "I won't bother anyone up at the house," he said to Harry, "but I was wondering how Jerry was." "He is very bad," said Harry. "He can't get much worse. They call it bronchitis. The doctor thinks it will turn one way or another tonight." "That's very bad," agreed the governor, shaking his head. "I know 2 men who died of that last week. But let's hope for the best for your father. If there's any rule that good men should get over these things, I'm sure he will. He's the best man I know. I'll look in on him early tomorrow." Early next morning he was there. "Well," he said. "Father is better," said Harry. "Mother hopes he will get over it." "Thank goodness," said the governor. "Now you must keep him warm, and keep him from worrying about the horses. You see, Jack will be fine with a week of rest in a warm stable. You can take him up and down the road to stretch his legs. But this young one, if he does not get work, he will get wild. He will be too much for you, and when he does go out, there may be an accident." "It's like that now," said Harry. "He's so full of spirit that I don't know what to do with him." "I thought so," said the governor. "Now please tell your mother that if she agrees, I will come for him every day. I will work him, and whatever he earns, I will give your mother half of it. That will help out with the horses' feed. I'll come at noon and hear what she has to say." Without waiting for Harry's thanks, he was gone. At noon, he and Harry came to the stable together. They harnessed Hotspur and took him out. For a week or more, he came for Hotspur. When Harry thanked him or said anything about his kindness, he laughed it off and said his own horses needed a little rest anyway. Jerry slowly got better, but the doctor said he could never go back to cab work again. The family talked many times about what they would do for money. One afternoon, Hotspur was brought in very wet and dirty. "The streets are nothing but slush," said the governor. While Harry was sponging the mud from Hotspur's body and legs, Dolly came in, bubbling with joy. "Who lives at Fairstowe, Harry? Mother got a letter from Fairstowe. She seemed very happy about it and ran upstairs to tell Father." "That is Mrs. Fowler's place. Remember when Father met her last summer and she sent you and me money? She was Mother's old mistress." "Oh, I remember now. But I wonder what she is writing Mother about. Mother wrote to her last week, said Harry. You know, she had told Father if he ever gave up the cab work, she would like to be told. Go and see what she says, Dolly. Harry continued to rub away at Hotspur. In a few minutes, Dolly came dancing into the stable. Oh, Harry, Mrs. Fowler says we are all to go and live near her. There's an empty cottage that will be perfect for us. It has a garden and a hen house and apple trees and everything. Her coachman is going to go away in the spring, and she will want Father to take his place. There are good families around where you could work in a garden or stable or even at the main house. And there's a good school for me. Mother is laughing and crying at the same time. And Father, he looks so happy. That's wonderful, Harry said. It was quickly settled that as soon as Jerry was well enough, they would move to the country. The cab and the horses were to be sold as soon as possible. This was big news for me, for I was not young anymore. My 3 years of cab work, even under the best conditions, have been hard. I felt I needed a rest, and that I was not the horse I had been. Mr. Grant said that he would take Hotspur, and he promised to find me a home where I should be comfortable. The day came soon when we would leave. Jerry had not been allowed to go out yet, and I never saw him after that New Year's Eve. Polly and the children came to tell me goodbye. They all wished they could take me with them. Polly put her hand on my mane and her face close to my neck. Poor old Jack, she said. Dolly was crying. Harry stroked me softly, but said nothing. They all seemed very sad as I was led away to my new place.